All right, guys, we're back for another edition of Must Have, Maybe, and Avoid. I'm going to kick this off with Josh Jackson. He's had a really good last 3 rounds here, coming off a 53, 52, and a 63 in big minute roles. So he started the year with less minutes than he was getting, the back end of last year when he was a keeper. So he's getting back to that role now, which is really good. He had a random six missed tackle game there and still picked up a 52, and that's good signs that when he doesn't get the run meters and picks up missed tackles, that he can still get over that 50 mark, which, he's nowhere near priced close to that 50 plus mark at the moment. He's sitting around that, pretty close to his average currently at 46. So a dual position guy who has pedigree of being a big minute, big scorer, at the back end of last year, who isn't going to play Origin. I think he's pretty close to the best pick up in your team this week and close to a must-have over the next few weeks, and especially through the Origin period. I think he's going to be a must-have along with the likes of Papali'i and potentially Taumalolo and those types of guys. So that 63 last week really cemented it. He had 151 run meters and the 51 tackles for no misses. So you probably won't expect that every week, but somewhere in that mid-50s would be ideal for Joshy Jackson there. Move to Isaiah Papali'i, we've spoken about the last bunch of weeks, so just a quick one on him, but obviously the 2-try effort for 87 to go with his try last week. He's just been super consistent with a low score of 54, and he's going to be someone that he doesn't play in round 13 like Josh Jackson does, but he's going to be super important over that, that next period there. And he's owned by 31% of the top 1,000 and 25% of the top 5,000, so still someone that you could almost say is a slight pod to bring into your side, and for those that brought him in last week, they really benefited from that. So he's someone over the next few weeks you need to be looking at getting into your side for sure. All right, we'll talk about Talatau Kula as well at 241k, so up a little bit now, has made a tiny bit of cash there at center and the wing fullback duel, owned by a large percentage, obviously 55% there and 34% overall, and coming off a 16 in that last game, but 32 and a 25 when he actually got big minutes in the centers there. Means that he's got a little bit of cash to make if he can continue that in this role. So Morgan Harper loses his spot. Unfortunately, he's in the 18th man jersey, and Kula gets his opportunity to show what he's got, really. And as a young fella, he's only going to have improvement in him, and definitely has the potential to have a 40 or 50 game in him. He has a pretty tough matchup this week against South. But, there's every chance that, either it's this week or over the next few weeks, he could do well. Make a little bit of cash, but you could use him as a cash out option or a cash down. And is someone that is going to, most probably play over the Origin period as well. So you'll be able to get him, get a score or two out of him there. So I think he's probably the best cheapie option at the moment. We'll speak about a couple more a little bit later as well. So Taumalolo here with a, just under 50 average now. And the last 4 games he's done really well. So 61, 51, 62, and a 53. Getting minutes to 59 as his lowest minutes there over that section. And the tackle breaks and the offloads are back. And that's all we've been waiting for him to get close to 180 plus meters and some attacking stats there. Still hasn't had any tries, just had the 1 try assist across those games. And is priced just under that 50 mark. And I think he's someone over the next bunch of weeks especially can average over 50. Somewhere around that 55 mark, and probably make you 100k, and be someone that is a keeper in your team going forward. So that's Taumalolo there, probably slightly under what Josh Jackson is as a buy in this next coming weeks. I just think that Josh has a little bit more money to make, and that dual position could really help you out. But Jason's going to be a good option as well, considering it looks like he's pretty well back. He hasn't had many injuries last. Obviously this year especially, but had too many last year, and he's been a gun in the past. So. Top gun, so that's that for him. All right, let's talk about Talakai. Last week to get him, 676k, real negative break even there, averaging 55 for the season, which included a couple of games off the interchange bench. But obviously, he's shown what he can do, right? So do you think he can continue that? That's going to be the biggest question there. He comes up against really, pretty easy sides over the next 3 weeks, to be honest, or 4 weeks even, with the Broncos, Warriors, Canberra, and also Titans. So now's the week to get him. If you want to, he could, I think he's going to, as I said, he's going to average about that 45 to 50 in the centers. And if you think that that's enough, if you're fine with that, 45 to 50 is where he's priced at the moment. So at worst, if he averages that over the next, bunch of weeks, he's obviously going to make a little bit over the next little bit, get up into 700, 750, and then probably drop down a bit if he stays there. But if he goes nuts over the next 3 to 4 weeks, and you don't have him, then that's going to be the big issue. So up to you if you want to pick him up, edge and center. Jewel, we got plenty of them at the moment with Aiken and these types of guys. So he could be an awesome one for your side. Cam McInnes. So the first one on this list that I think is an avoid. Break even a little bit higher. Obviously 52 last week, and he picked up a 34. So he moves back to the bench. He'll go back to like that 50 minutes again. Score somewhere in the 35 to 45. I think you just got to avoid him at this stage. Jackson Hastings is the interesting one here. A little bit of an outlier in this group, as to we're not exactly sure how he's going to go. The last 2 weeks in their two, golden point or 1 point wins, he's been really dominant. He's kicking goals now, full time, which is good. Only had the one try assist in those last 2 games for a combined average of 56.5 points. So if you think he can continue this, the run meters, obviously the tackle breaks, the random offloads, and just good kicking in general play with forced dropouts, etc., then he could definitely be someone that averages, somewhere close to that 45 to 50 and has 100 to 200k to make. That's up to you though if you want to take that risk when there's obviously plenty of gun halves at the moment. So you can take your pick if you would like to select him. I think he's going to do well. How well, I'm not exactly sure. Will he get a 35 and stunt all growth? I think that's a possibility, and that's something you have to weigh up if you want to pick up Hastings at this point. Brandon Smith, and I think he's in the maybe category at the moment. Really cheap, man. Like this guy, this is someone that if you look at last year, he got himself up into the 740k range, after a terrific year. Obviously, plenty of tries. You look at that stretch here, he had a try, a nothing, a double, and then 4 tries in a row. So had like an 8-game stretch of a try a game average, which was incredible. So, can he continue to do that or get back to that in any case? So he had 70 minutes on the weekend. If for him, that's probably a little bit high. He obviously had the 4 tackle breaks and the offload, which is something he hasn't really had all year. He's had a 4 tackle break game in round 3 when he scored 62 points and he played hooker when Grant was out. But other than that, he's just had very low tackles off the bench, very much no tackle breaks or offloads, and he got back to on the weekend. So he is someone that's, at that price point, he only has to average sort of, 40 or 40 plus to make you a lot of money and cover in the hooker in the mid position. And for someone who's not going to be playing Origin, he's definitely someone that's on my radar as a potential pickup. But obviously comes with his risks if you look at his last few games, the 29, 14, and 24. But let's see where his minutes even out, because they had 51 and 50 of those 2 games there and got 29 and 24, which wasn't good enough, but definitely someone that dominated last year and has plenty of cash to make if it gets to that stage where he actually is consistent. Hayes Parham, so 6 in the first game off the interchange. He plays 37 minutes on the wing and scores a try, gets a line break, and has a few attacking stats to go along with his turnover tackle, kick defusal, and 118 meters gain. So obviously has a lower break even this week. The half center duel, definitely a potential option if you would like to bring him in. The Cowboys, Panthers, Roosters, Manly over the next 4 isn't as exciting as playing the Knights when you're pumping them. I think the Cowboys game is going to be a lot closer than what we saw from the Knights there. So up to you guys if you would like to bring him in as a cash out. I'd probably go for Kula over Parham. Sean Russell could potentially come back in the next few weeks. We've got Sivo probably mid-year kind of thing. You got Makatoa, Niokore eventually coming back. So obviously their stocks are down when they're playing Dylan Brown in the centres, but Parham's definitely a potential option, and it has his risks, but also could make you a little bit of money. I don't see him going nuts, being a winger on the left edge for the Eels, and it's not someone like a Penasini who's a tackle breaking type of guy. As you can see, he has a couple of decent games, like 3 and 4 tackle breaks, but generally not one of those type of players and doesn't make big run meters. So that's Hayes. Justin Vung is an interesting one. So with Curran out, he's going to be playing the lock role. And you see over the last 2 weeks there, last 2 games, he's played at lock, 61 and 80 and 68 minutes for 57 and 56. We obviously know what he can do in bigger minutes in that lock role. Over the years, he got a 70 there in 57 minutes. A lower one in 39 minutes, got a 25, a 50 and 46. So, PPM-wise, he's really strong, 55 and 53, 66 in 80. So I think, Jazz is someone that over that next little section when Tohu is not back and when Curran's not there, he could obviously score really well. But do you want to pick him up for a 3 to 4 week stint at lock? Obviously, he could score you well, but 535k, it's not like he's 400k. So he'll make you some cash. He'll get some good scores for you, but is that enough over that next section to then flick him eventually, or when he goes back to the bench? Is can you stomach that and hold that, or trade him out in that point and 2 trades for some decent scores and maybe 50 to 80k in gains? Up to you. All right, Joey Manu. 603k is obviously pretty expensive now, but the centre and wing fullback dual coming off a 58 in the last game with a try, which was great. 25 in between. So he had a 58, 63, 25, 58. He, over the next section, if he can continue to score tries, he's obviously going to score well. But when he doesn't score tries, he's a mid-20s to 30s kind of player, especially in how the Roosters have been playing at the moment. The next few games are nice for him with the Dogs and the Titans. So if you want to pick him up, now is probably the time with that slightly lower break even, because he's going to have a few tougher ones just before Origin there. And then obviously he can dominate through that section with him being a New Zealand player, not going to be playing Origin. So definitely a decent option, but it's not on my radar at the moment, if I'm being honest. If he is on yours, then that's okay. I think he's going to be a good pickup. All right, Tamari Martin. A lot of people talking about him, but the 43 coming up against the Dogs isn't going to happen every week. He's got Cronulla, he's got the Rabbitohs, he's got Manly over the next 3. Makes it pretty tough. He obviously had an awesome comeback, and I'm so happy for him, so proud of him. But had 8 tackles at fullback, which is interesting, for no misses. That's not going to happen every week. The 6 tackle breaks, the offload, and the 147 metres with the try saver, I don't think can be sustained. I think he's going to get a 25 this week. That's my thoughts. And if you think averaging 25 or 30 is going to be enough for you to bring him in at 325, when you've got other guys which we'll speak about, we had the Kula, we had Hayes Perham, these types of players, and then go for Tamari over him. I'm just again just happy he's come back into the league, fit and firing, but I wouldn't be personally picking him in my side. But I said last week I wasn't picking up Talakai, and look what he did. So you can make your own decisions with that one. I'm just giving my advice as to showing you some of the risks that come along with a lot of these players. Sammy Vowels is a very interesting one. So only played the 2 games this year. Last round 54 minutes off the bench, and all these points in tackles there, 23 and 30 meters gained. In the last game he had 50 tackles for 0 misses, which was really nice. And he's going to be getting that sort of 60 odd minutes going forward. Will he be making 50 tackles a game? Probably not, and not having any misses. I don't think so. You look at a lot of his games last year, he had an 80-minute game there for 45, but a lot of his 60-minute games, he's 20 and 30. So I think it's a real scary one if you're looking to pick him up at 501k. He's almost priced at his average there. And the upside isn't really there. I don't think he has to hit 45s on a regular basis in 60-odd minutes. I just don't think he can do it. His PPM 0.64. Verrills, I think he's an avoid at this point. But we'll definitely watch him over the next couple of weeks. All right, Edric Lee, 282. I can't believe we're speaking about him again, but he did obviously had 2 decent games in a row, 32 and 29 in his first 2 games there. 5 tackle breaks, 2 offloads. The biggest thing with him is obviously good at kick defusals in the air, and long limbs to knock balls out and stuff. So he gets a couple of points on that, but he's not always willing to run the ball out of trouble, run the ball in general, and that brings about meters, and that brings about tackle breaks and offloads. So he's always has that potential to get that mid-20 score, which we spoke about last week. At 282 now, with obviously a lower break even, is he able to continue with those mid-20 scores? Is he potentially going to get 30s and 40s? Is he going to get a 5 against Melbourne? That's the biggest worry, and because of that, I can't pick him in my side. I'm sorry. And I would try to push you away from him as well. Cory Page, so this one obviously had a perfect game for him. You see his minutes off the interchange, decent in round 5. Not so decent in round 6 with 17 in 37 minutes. So he had 24 tackles for 4 misses, which, over his career, he's only got 2 of those games. So he's a 1 to 2 miss kind of guy in his 50, 60 minute, those types of games, even in his lesser minute games. So if you think he can continue to get around that 30, obviously there's a little bit of money to be made, but he's not going to score a try every week and make 2 line breaks. He's just one of those perfect games for him. 25 tackles for 1 miss. I expect him to average somewhere around the 30 mark, and I don't think he has a lot of money to make from that point. At any point in this next bunch of weeks, he could bring Billy and play him more minutes. Turpin's going to be back at some point as well. So all the things to think about, guys, with all those players. I hope you enjoyed that must-have of avoids and also the maybes there. If you're liking these in general, then please hit like, subscribe. I appreciate that, and we'll catch you in the next few videos. See you, team.